Video games as an artistic medium face unique challenges compared to other forms of visual art and entertainment. While other forms of media typically present a story for you to digest as it comes along, video games offer a unique opportunity to step inside the mind of the characters you're playing. You're not watching Walter White make meth and deteriorate his relationship with those around him. You are the one doing that. You experience it all firsthand. You have the power to make meth. The perspective created by blending your own immersion with pre-written characters is an interesting one to explore. The success of this depends widely on things like the type of game or gameplay, the narrative itself, and a whole bunch of other factors working in tandem. One of the best ways to see whether a game has got it right is through the relationships in the game between your player character and the characters in the surrounding world. This brings me to the video. I'm going to be going over a few examples of what I think to be expertly crafted relationships in video games, as well as some not-so-great ones that kind of miss the mark. After considering each, I want to try and answer the question of what makes a good video game relationship and a bad one. Also, quick spoiler warning for the games I talk about. Let's start with the basics. Because at their core they are games, story in video games is, frankly, optional. There's loads of stuff you can already do with gameplay that makes a game really enjoyable. That being said, some of the best games have some thread of story going through them. Perhaps it drives the plot of that particular game, or is hidden behind clues and cryptic secrets, embedded in the world around you if you look, or built up over an entire franchise. Any way you slice it, the story in video games is important. It works in tandem with gameplay to make the world you're inhabiting come to life. This is where these relationships come into play. What does this look like? Well, let's look at some examples. To the Moon, a game with such simple gameplay, the story needed to be engaging. Thankfully, it delivered. It's actually where I got the idea for this video. In case you weren't a big Markiplier fan in the early aughts, the premise of To the Moon is that you follow two scientists that work for a company that uses VR technology that alters people's memories. Since the technology is super dangerous and powerful, it was only approved for use on the dying to help them artificially fulfill their last wishes. This particular client, Johnny, wants to go to the moon. The gameplay is incredibly simple. All you do is find a little memory bubble thing or two and do some puzzles that are like something out of a Reader Rabbit game. But the story, my god, as a writer, it's unique dynamics like in To the Moon that really get me. Neil and Eva, the scientists, cultivate a unique kind of relationship with Johnny through his most personal memories with no direct interaction. But in a way, they get to know him better than anyone ever has, even himself. It's an interesting way to create conflict between what he said he wants and what he actually wants. The Last of Us is a little more well-known. As a brief recap, you play as Joel, a smuggler 20 years after the zombie apocalypse, who is tasked by an anti-government organization, the Fireflies, to deliver a girl, Ellie, with immunity to the virus across the country, as she may be the only hope of saving mankind. You travel for about a year in in-game time with Ellie, all while making it through obstacle after obstacle. When it comes time to hand her over and let the Fireflies subject her to what they have in store, you don't want to. I mean, Joel doesn't want to, sure, but neither do you. So, you don't. You can see the moral conflict going on right in front of you. All through the game, you've seen what the virus does to humanity, and now you have the chance to end that, but at what cost? The relationship between Joel and Ellie is essential to The Last of Us, and it's what makes the series so beautiful. Now for the stinkers. Fallout 4 is going to be my main example since I've played a whole bunch of that recently. In Fallout 4, you start the game with a spouse and a baby. When you get to the vault after the nuclear blast, you are cryogenically frozen. But oh no, you wake up just in time to see your son Sean get snatched and your spouse get killed. Whatever shall you do? When you get out, your first inclination is definitely going to be to go save him, right? Well, when I was playing the game, I honestly didn't feel that way. I mean, I know he's like my kid and all, but there's so much cool stuff to do instead. Maybe if I'd had more of a connection to him, I might view my exploration and my upgrades, my leveling up as side quests that help me get to the goal of being able to get him back, to save my kid. But I was just doing them for companions or XP or just to see what I could do in the game. Honestly, I didn't really care about my baby. Not to say it's a bad game by any means, but something's definitely missing. I can think of a couple other examples, like your girlfriend that you're told to care about in Far Cry 3, or even Queen Nikki's own video about It Takes Two from last week. All of those have characters with potential, but they really fail to follow through on building that relationship with them, between the player character and the characters in the game. So, what do the good ones have that the bad ones don't? What do the good ones have in common? Well, I came across one answer in all this time. The answer to this question is that you get to build those relationships yourself. You're not told by the game or the developers to care about someone and then immediately told to go do something for these people you're supposed to care about. You get to make that decision. This is something that seems so obvious when you look at it and so straightforward, but it seems like developers are so often falling short of realizing it. Again, though, it's tricky to strike a balance between fitting gameplay to story, story to gameplay, and having everything feel as if you're a part of the experience, especially in beautiful stories like The Last of Us and To the Moon. But we've seen it happen. In those games, it really makes us feel like we're in there, talking to the characters in our world, and it gives us a slice of that experience that really makes playing these games worthwhile. In the end, it helps to remember the player part in player character.